My mom's at the funeral and I'm smoking. And she's like, do you have to do that?
Yes, girl.
And she goes, God bless her. She's like, can you just drink a cappuccino? Can just go and like treat yourself. And I was like, so I'm going to it's these cigarettes or I'm going to go to a dive bar. I'm going to meet a cocaine dealer and I'm probably not going to come to Dad's funeral. And you might not see me for a couple of weeks. Or I'm going to smoke these cigarettes.
Pick your sweet treat, Mom. Like, God.
Smoke away, honey. She's like, puff, puff.
Good, good. Welcome to Recovery.com, the podcast where we share authentic stories from influential voices about the joys of life in mental health and addiction recovery, and the journeys that led us here. I'm Brittany Baynard, and today we're joined by Hilary Phelps, a writer, wellness coach, and sobriety advocate who founded the women's support platform, The Right Room. Once a nationally ranked swimmer who privately battled a 15-year alcohol addiction, she has been in long-time recovery since 2007 and now uses her story to help others navigate burnout, recovery, and personal reinvention. This is a powerful conversation about what it's like to live with an addiction that's hiding in plain sight, the daily work required for long-term sobriety, and finding the courage to finally share your story. Let's dive in. Welcome to today's episode of Recovery.com. We are joined today by an amazing guest, Hilary Phelps. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So we were just chit-chatting a little bit, and I wanted to ask this one question because I feel like swimmers, there's like swimmer families, and I was like, maybe that's why I didn't thrive. I didn't have like a swimmer family. So I wanted to know, like, before we dive in to all the stuff we're going to talk about, I want to know how all three of you, because there's two siblings, right?
Yes.
How did you all wind up swimmers?
Well, so I started off the swimming. I was the oldest. My parents felt that water safety was really important from a young age. And so at 6 months old, they literally threw me in the pool, dropped me in. And then that was how they taught babies then. It kind of came up to the surface. And then we had a summer swim team. We spent our whole summer at the club pool. And so we would go and just, my mom's like, okay, you know what, if we're going to be here, you're going to swim summer league. And I did. And I went up to my mom, I got a third place trophy. And I'm like, I don't want the third place. I want the big one. I want the big trophy. And she said, okay, well, that's year-round swimming. I'm like, great, sign me up. So I got started in year-round swimming. My sister and brother then joined because my mom's like, I'm not going to be.
We're coming here anyways. Yeah.
Get in there and get rid of some energy.
Yeah.
But I was gung-ho and really excited. And my sister, you know, when she started, the kind of story goes that they would have to kind of bribe her with a Snickers bar to finish the lap. Oh. And then my brother, Michael, didn't want to get his face wet. And so they had to flip him over on his back. He didn't like
That's a huge part of swimming. Yeah.
Which is really funny because I was like, yeah, I can't wait to do this. And then it kind of, the interest level dropped off as we got younger. Yeah. But then my sister was third in the world at 14 and he is the greatest swimmer, I think the greatest athlete of all time, a little biased, but
that's hilarious. It's like, bud, you're like 7 feet tall. Go take a basketball somewhere. This is mine. Oh, that's funny. Hilarious. That's cool. I love that. Family of swimmers. I feel like that was always how I saw it too. We had like power swimmer families in our hometown. And I swear it's like, you just saw they always had wet hair. It was 2 days. They were there in the morning. And the only time their hair was dry was for like an hour. And then they got back into the pool after school. And then I think they drove home and it was probably an aquarium that they lived in. But it was like, constant like swimming water. But okay, so
that's how we got started.
That's awesome.
The joke is I had swam in college. I had a full scholarship, Division I, collegiate athlete, record holding athlete. And I was the least successful in my family.
Dang.
Which is kind of fun. I mean, it's like a joke and I laugh about it. And like, that's pretty good.
Yes.
But then, my brother and sister were the greatest.
You did your own stuff too. You held your own. That's awesome. Yeah. So, let's dive into it then. So when was the first time you had experienced with alcohol?
So I was 14 and I don't remember the first time. I also experimented with marijuana. I tried LSD in 8th grade. I think for me, I had this depression, like I'd experienced depression at 14 and mental health wasn't a thing, therapy wasn't a thing. And I said to my parents, I'm like, I don't really, I'm not feeling great. And I'm like, I think I need to see a therapist. And they were like, you're okay. Like it's a phase, you're 14, you're young. And so I started drinking, I started cutting myself because I think I wanted attention and I didn't know how else to get it. And I didn't know how to say like, I'm struggling and I need help. my swimming at that time started to deteriorate. I was the fastest swimmer in the country for my age group, and it started to slip a lot. My grades started to slip. I was in AP English and I went to remedial English my junior and senior year. And everything just kind of started to fall apart, and I didn't have words for it.
Did the adults around you kind of notice these things? Like the grades slipping, or maybe attribute it to something?
At the time, my parents were also navigating a divorce.
Yeah.
And so everyone was trying to survive. And
right. And maybe they think
water.
Like she's just going through a hard time with the divorce and stuff, not thinking. Yeah. Because no matter like what is going through or where you sit, like socioeconomic status and stuff, like a 14-year-old can be going through things outside of like their parents' experience. It can be their own life no matter where they are. And sometimes I feel like at that 14-year-old self, we like play it down because you're like, nothing's wrong. Like externally, like we don't think about the things that are wrong. Like now when I look back on like my childhood stuff, I'm like, the things that I didn't label trauma were definitely traumatic experiences that I had to like I'm still peeling apart the stuff right now. Like I didn't realize how much that affected me, and it makes me navigate the world the way I do today. Looking back on your 14-year-old self, do you see some of the things you might have been working through or not sure how to navigate that you turned to drinking towards?
Before that, I was a straight A student. And like I said, I was the fastest swimmer in the country. So I had all these external things that looked really good.
Yeah.
I had friends. And even though my parents went through a divorce, they were supportive. They were great parents, but I never felt good enough. Like there was something inside that said, I'm not good enough. And so it didn't matter. I don't think I had the confidence. I don't think I had the vocabulary also to say, like, I don't feel good. I don't know what's going on. And for me, athletics, it was achievement. And so I'm like, well, if I just do better, then I will feel better. Then I will be loved. Then I will have validation.
Once we do this thing or once we get this award, it'll be fine. But then you get that. And then there's always another one, or that like the high from that kind of goes away.
Yes. And that's the idea of like being perfect, right? This perfectionism that drives me. Like once I'm perfect, once I figure all this out, then it will feel better. And there was nothing really that felt better. There was nothing that could fill that empty hole inside of me like alcohol or drugs could.
Yeah.
And it just, for me, when I put alcohol or drugs in my body, it did everything. And it just made me feel okay in that moment. Yeah. And then I just chased that for 15 years.
Yeah. You like chase that initial feeling, regardless of to how it ends up 15 years later or where it takes people. It has this like core memory of I've locked it in because this is what felt good at that time. You'd started experimenting at 14. What does that look like for you through high school?
So what that looks like was a lot of weekends. I was still swimming. And so I was still swimming after school. Sometimes I would get high and go to practice. I would smoke weed. We grew up in Baltimore, and lacrosse was really huge. And the only thing I ever wanted was to be accepted and feel connected. And that's what I chased. And that's what I was looking for in the bottom of a bottle. So I just chased that kind of next high, whoever I thought, who's going to give me attention, who's going to give me this love and connection that I'm looking for. And so it was trying to be part of the cool kids group. It was trying, I always had a boyfriend because it didn't matter if it was a healthy relationship or not. If I had somebody then it told me, okay, well then at least I'm loved. It doesn't matter if he's nice, or it doesn't matter if it, these voices in my like, this isn't a good thing. It doesn't matter because at least I could feel like I was.
You'll pull at something, anything really to like fill that little void that's there, because it helps in that moment to like feel those things. And what's wild is like, I wasn't good at school, sports. I don't have a competitive bone in my body. Like I'm decent at something, but people are like, I'm going to beat you. I'm like, I'm sure you will. Like go for it. Like it's not that I don't care. It's just like, I will do, you know what? There's like winners, there's quitters, but there's a lot of people in between like me. I'm just a cheerleader. Like I'm here for a fun time, not a long time, but it blows my mind. Cause like I would have thought of girls like you in high school, like you have everything, like you have all these achievements. I would have been like completely jealous. I was like, she's so good at sports. She's so good at all of these things. And to know that you were feeling inadequate is it hurts to think that, because I think on the opposite end, I was like, I wish I could have been that girl.
That brings up like a lot of emotional emotion in me, because what it tells me is like, we're always looking to other people to try to fill that, right? Because I looked at them like, oh, wow, you're so carefree, and it must be so nice to just like not exist, but like be free.
Yeah. I think I was afraid to challenge myself. I was afraid to give it my all, because what if I did fail? So if I was just okay with not, and I could boost other people up and not make this person feel bad about doing things, it was a lot of like people pleasing, navigating others. So that's something I have to work on. Maybe I need to try and be a winner sometimes, but yeah, it is. It's hard to navigate your spot and how to feel comfortable and fit in. And it's like we were both at similar but opposite ends of it, and we're still feeling alone.
And it's funny, because I was so driven and competitive when I was younger, when I was really good. And then once I started using alcohol and drugs, I became somebody I wasn't. I became someone that wasn't innate to who I am. And what I mean by that is I became that like, well, I don't care. You win today. Like, I don't care. And I did though. And I feel like that starts to chip away at my soul, at my identity, at who I am. And that feels really bad too. Like that feels really hard, because I'm trying to fit into a narrative or being somebody that I'm not in order to keep this addiction, in order to say like, okay, well, I don't really care. Because if I cared, I would have to stop doing what I'm doing and really try. I don't want to try.
Because trying you also have to face a lot of the stuff that you've been doing to not try for a while. We aren't ready for that yet. So, and because we're not ready for that, there's still more. So, you ended up getting a scholarship. So, I mean, like, that's awesome. Wow. You're still like thriving right now, but there's still a lot of stuff going on internally. The other side of it is you're young. So when you are young, it's acceptable to be drinking at a different capacity or to be partying or doing things. So we kind of excuse it. As you go into college, is it kind of getting worse and progressing? Is it just kind of like keeping up? Are you noticing things?
It's terrible. It's awful. I mean, because then you're in college and it's like a free stamp to party. And I had this idea that once I go away to school, it's just an expensive permission slip to drink.
Long spring break.
Yeah. And I treated it as such. My freshman year, I did really well. I had school records. And then I kind of got like, I kind of had this ego, and I was like, what are you going to do? Like, I'm the fastest swimmer you have. You can't do anything to me. And I got kind of this really bad attitude. And it started to show. My grades weren't great. My swimming started to suffer. I also look back and think, what if? And I remember, because my freshman year, I've always been interested in the brain and how it works in psychology. And my student advisor said, I really want to do psychology. I'm really interested. And she said, you're not smart enough. You should try sociology. It's an easier path.
Also not easy, but like,
I was like, okay, and I also didn't stand up for myself. And so I had lost that ability to really speak up, or that drive to speak up. And so I ended up doing sociology and criminal justice. And I was like, okay, I'll be this, forensic.
That was the easy path.
I know, right?
Okay.
That's true.
Anyways,
but one of the hardest things to think about recovery is I just accepted what people thought. There was no challenging. There was no standing up for myself. There was no, I lost my voice. I lost everything I stood for. And that's when, blackout drinking was every night. I mean, every time I put alcohol in my body, I would black out. And that became scary when I'd wake up the next morning with bruises, one morning we came into practice totally drunk, and the coach yelled, kind of yelled at everybody. Like, I remember he said, it smells like Listerine on this pool deck. We all came with our clothes from the night before, and we just thought it was funny. And there was kind of no respect for
just what's going on and what you're here for. Yeah.
My senior year, my college roommates, I didn't have the label for it at the time. I had an intervention. They said, you're acting really bad. Like, we don't like this version of you. Yeah. And
what are some of the things?
Like, you can make me say it. No, I would cheat on boyfriends. I would do, because it was about the attention.
Right.
And it's embarrassing to admit, but that's not who I am, but at the time that's who I was. I would be mean to girls that I felt threatened by. I would get in people's faces. I would fight girls in bathrooms. I mean, it was just this survival, this feeling of survival in every moment. And they were like, we don't like this. And I'm like, well, then I'll get new friends. Like, forget you. I don't need you. Yeah. And there's this idea that, addiction will take everything in your life and then it would kill you. And that was true. I mean, I was willing to throw away all of these friends and these experiences to, hold alcoholism, and my alcohol is so close to me. And
was there a point during that, even like a little part of you that was like,
I don't like this person right now. I am different. Or was it like, these people are messed up, I'm literally, get out of my face?
I mean, I think there's that. No, there was that small part that was like, I don't like this. I don't like the way it feels. But then I came to a fork in the road of either looking at it and dealing with it or saying, I can't handle this right now. Yeah. And for a really long time, I kept taking that, I can't handle this right now. It felt really shameful. Yeah. And so to get sober felt shameful, or to quit this thing that I thought I loved so much, right? The best friend that's alcohol, like the best friend that's trying to kill you. And I also wasn't ready to look at my behavior. And so I just kept bearing that, and I kept drinking. And there's this, and the tough thing then, and it's even tougher now, I think, are all these jokes. I heard like, well, only alcoholics go to meetings, and I don't go to meetings, so I'm not an alcoholic. It's like, ha, ha, ha.
You have to go to the meeting. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really funny. Ha, ha, I don't do that. Or,
make up every excuse we can, or just like, I'm not the picture of what I think an alcoholic is. Whoever the marketing team is that has their foot on the necks of brown paper bags and bridges and old guys, like, oh my goodness. It's just, unless you are homeless under a bridge with a brown paper bag, you just don't have a problem. We don't need to think about it.
And that's, I think, one of the reasons I stayed out for so long too, is because out drinking, because that was it was Meg Ryan and A Man Loves a Woman. I'm like, well, I'm not drinking before work. Like, I don't have kids. I'm not that bad. Nicolas Cage in Leaving Las Vegas. Well, I'm not that bad either. Or, the media shows alcoholics and addicts, especially this time in the 2000s, as somebody that I wasn't. So I couldn't identify with that. Yeah. I was like, so that's not me. I'm not there.
No one's talking about it. Like, people will say like, I'm sober, but nobody really knows what that means.
I didn't know anybody then that was sober, that was trying to get sober, that stopped drinking, that everybody I surrounded myself drank like me.
Yeah. Well, why would I surround myself with somebody who's sober so I can feel bad about myself? No.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Yeah, no. I know when I had my first experiences away from home, it was me navigating that, but also like, it was free yield. And I know I had friends that were also doing the exact same things, but I also didn't notice like they're doing this, but they're not doing it to the extent I am. Is that why your friends had that intervention with you?
I was just acting like a terrible human to everybody around me. And being a blackout drinker.
Can you explain that?
A blackout drinker.
Yeah, because
yes. Yeah. So every time I put alcohol in my body, I'd forget what happened the night before.
Any amount?
I drank till I blacked out.
Yeah.
And so there was brownouts where I go in and out and kind of remember. And there was a brownout, I would say, well, I wasn't that drunk. So the only times I said I was really drunk the night before is when I completely forgot everything. And looking back, that's really scary.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened, and I don't know what could have happened. And I wake up places and I didn't remember how I got there, or I wouldn't remember driving my car home from the night before. Physically, that feels really scary.
Yep.
Emotionally, that feels really scary. Knowing I put myself and other people in danger feels really scary. And that's a lot of work to get over that shame.
Yep. I feel like shame is one of the biggest things that keep people from going anywhere further, because it's having to address why I feel so much shame. And am I allowed to move past that shame? Are other people okay? I put a lot of, am I able to move past shame on if other people said it was okay? Am I okay now? Am I better now? Am I a good person now? Can I release that shame? And I didn't realize like it all had to just be me.
Because then we're outsourcing our happiness.
Yep. I was literally just always trying to find it somewhere else. It was like, why?
Would you?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's and
not remembering evenings, especially when like, even if things didn't go bad, to be like, I literally don't remember. And people are like, you were fine. I wasn't there. I was not there. Yeah. Don't know what you're talking about. It is scary. It's terrifying.
And it was I never knew who was going to show up. And for me, that was scary too, because sometimes I was happy and like, oh my gosh, I love you. I'm so grateful for you. You're my best friend. Let's like talk about all these great things. And sometimes it was the mean girl. It was the angry, vicious, hurtful, hateful woman that came out. And that felt really scary too, not knowing who they were going to get that night. And there was one night, I mean, the incident, like I fell down an escalator in the metro in Washington, DC, and woke up I don't remember it. I just had bruises and cuts on my arms and my face. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. Right. And so the same thing, that's like the shame. I either have to look at it and say, this is not acceptable behavior. This is not acceptable for me. This is not who I am. And I don't like it. Or I had to laugh it off and go and pick up a bottle and drink away that shame.
Yeah.
And that's why recovery is so hard, and staying sober is so hard, because it's a consistent reminder of, this is what I used to do, and I can accept it, and I can move on and say, this is no longer okay. Or I can turn to the drugs and the alcohol and the numbing things and keep pouring that into my body, because it's so painful and traumatic to look at it. I can't do it yet.
Shame's a bitch.
Shame's
a bitch. You just terrible. Like, honestly, it is. I sat there with just the same things in my head, just over and over and over. I hope these people never find this stuff out about me. I hope they get to know me and love me so much that if they do find out all the stupid things I did in my past, that they can look past it somehow. It's like, I never fucking killed anyone. It's just like, I made stupid choices. I was going through stuff. We were going through things we couldn't put words to, and it was just too heavy to deal with. And we didn't have the tools to deal with it at that time.
And it's really hard. It's like, you could tell me, you could be like, oh, I killed a family of 4. And I'd be like, I understand, that's really hard. And I would forgive, I would have more forgive, but to look at, if I did anything like got a speeding ticket or parked illegal, then it would be like, I'm the worst human in the world. And, stepped through a huge part of my recovery. And I remember talking, I had a sponsor, and I remember being like, I can't even say that. I had a cat that died in my arms. A dog had come through it when I was a little girl, and the dog had grabbed this cat out of my arms. I was carrying that from the time I was 7 years old, thinking it was my fault, right? And that sounds so trite but it felt so powerful and real in my body. So something like that, all the way up to things like I had never said out loud to another human being about my behavior before. And being able to share it with another human released so much shame. But to your point, even in up till 10 years of recovery, I was like, if these people still find out who I really am on the inside, what I'm really thinking or what I'm feeling on a daily basis, they're going to kick me out. They're not going to like me or see me. But it's so interesting that I have so much forgiveness, patience, and love for somebody else. And it took me years of working recovery hard to find that same acceptance for myself.
Yeah, because I would never speak to somebody, a stranger, the way I speak to myself. No. And I have to cognitively say out loud now good things to try and outweigh those moments, or even speak in just moments where I'm feeling overwhelmed. You're safe. You're safe. You're safe. Just because you spend so much time talking negatively about yourself inside, I don't think we realize it as much as we really do it. But yeah, it's like, why are we so hard on ourselves? We would never treat a stranger this way, but we're so hard on ourselves.
It's funny, even you say this, even this morning, right? I was looking and I was like, oh, skin. I was like, I carried a beautiful child into this world.
Yes.
I'm, you know what? I'm okay with skin, but it's catching and even, or little things, big things, any of those things, and reframing it, I think is one of the most powerful tools we can do. And there's now evidence that we talk about trauma, and there's so much stuff out there saying your cells are spying on every single thought and thing that you say and think in your body. And I would never say some of the things to my child or my best friend, or to your point, a stranger, that I said to myself for a long time. And that I think is such a powerful healing modality,
right?
Changing the language, right?
Adjusting how we think of it, because I think sometimes we just take worst case scenario. Now I think when I meet somebody new, I'm like, nothing that I did 10 years ago can negatively affect this person. I'm just going to roll with it. This is who I am today, and this is the person you'll always get.
Yes, consistency. Have you ever? So this was a funny lesson I learned the hard way: sharing stories and experiences to somebody not in recovery.
I kiki with my girlfriends a lot, and sometimes I blow their mind, but
I remember talking to someone that's not in recovery, and I was like, oh, and I just started sharing my story, and I was like, and this, and this, and this. And he was like, oh, and I'm like, noted, keep these stories for people in recovery, or the rooms or somewhere, because some people, it's still not fully understood.
Sometimes I think so. I feel like that happened with me and my husband. My husband, very just vanilla. In the most lovely way, but just not a lot. It's just always a very good kid. Didn't really do anything bad.
Even just good guy.
Steady man. So steady. Love this man to death. But as I soft launched my shit, he was just it's not that. It's just the person I know. It's so wild to think that that you went through that you did that. Like, I would imagine you had to been going through some shit. And I'm like, oh, I never thought you were going to think of it that way. I thought you'd be like, oh my gosh, this demon woman, who am I with? Run. Yeah. So being gentler on ourselves, I think also helps switch the framework of how we assume other people will take things in too.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah. Okay, back on track. Here we go. Okay, so you have graduated and now you moved to DC.
I was living outside of Washington.
Yeah.
In between Washington and Baltimore. I was working a job in DC, and I was so I was on the commuter train. I lived in Baltimore for a while, and then I moved. Yes, and I always lived with someone. Like whether I moved back home with my mom after college. I moved in with a boyfriend.
Yeah. How are your relationships affected by? Yeah.
I mean, so I picked men that either drank like me, smoked pot like me, children of alcoholics, and so they weren't the most functional or healthy.
Yeah.
And so most of the time we would party together, he'd smoke pot on one end of the couch. I'd drink my wine on the other end of the couch. But that's what I started to associate as a relationship, because again, if there was someone, right?
Yeah.
Someone there, then it meant I was okay.
Yes.
And if it meant I was okay, then I don't need to look at my drinking.
Yep. I'm not the worst. There's someone else here. Like, we're fine.
Someone else is putting up with me. Until one time, this boyfriend was like, you need to get help. And I was like, you need to get help. You're smoking weed all the time. Right. And he's like, I can't. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, we're done. 3 years. I'm like, we're done. Then I'm not giving up my alcohol. And the next relationship after that was when I got sober and came from an alcoholic family. It was a very unhealthy relationship in a lot of ways. Yeah. And he finally said, if you don't get sober, I'm telling your family how bad this is. And it was that shame piece, because I felt like I hid it. My family knew I was drinking. My family, they kind of said, we don't want to be around you when you're like this. Don't call us when you're like this. And so, but that fear of someone else exposing me felt really terrifying.
So he sets that boundary. What happens next?
I went to a couple of 12-step meetings.
Oh, so you said yes. Okay.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, so first we went to a therapist. Oh, yes. So we were in couples counseling. That's a whole story. We'd been dating for 3 months and he was like, we should go to couples counseling. Like, we're really struggling. My friends are like, you
3
should
months
break up. Like, this is what people do when they're dating or married for 30 years.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure it out. But I had this like victim mentality. Like, nope, I just have to make it work. Because if I make it work, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
And if I don't make it work, then I'm a failure. And if I'm a failure, what does that mean?
How can I adjust slightly so I can keep on doing what I want? And then he just shuts up about it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And we went to a therapist and she said, do you think you have a problem? I was like, not really. She said, how many glasses? I said, it's just wine. It's just wine that I'm drinking.
That's
she said,
different.
It's different. It's wine. It's good for
pretty.
you.
Yeah.
It's pretty, right. I drink it out of
nice
glasses.
colors. Yeah.
I'm not a brown paper bag. And she said, how many glasses? And I was like, 2. And she said, well, how big are your glasses? And I remember I remember Spencer's Gifts. I don't know if you remember this.
I know exactly what Spencer's is. You got a big joke. Yeah.
They had that. It's like
the whole bottle.
Yes. Yeah. It's in a glass, right? And so I'm like, oh, it's just 2 glasses. Right? And I'm like, oh, she's got my number. And so he
whips out his phone. He's like, this is the glass, ma'am.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like holding it with 2 hands.
Yeah.
And she said, why don't we try, would you ever be open to maybe checking out a meeting, a 12-step meeting? I'm like, do you know who goes to those things? It is not me. I don't
paper
go to
bags and old people.
Paper bags, old men, church basement, smoky. Like, that's not me. But I didn't want to deal with this anymore. I didn't want to deal with the anger in the relationship, right? And the volatility. And so I'm like, okay, fine. And I remember going, I didn't drink the night before. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, I wanted a medal for not drinking. And so I walked into the meeting. This woman was sharing so openly about abuse and about real stuff. And I turned and I left that meeting and I'm like, nope, I'm not going back. I won't drink, but I'm not going back to that place because I wasn't ready to be honest. And so I white knuckled it for 3 months, which meant I didn't have a program of recovery. I didn't have people to talk to. I didn't understand that drinking was just a symptom of my disease, that it was me that I had to deal with. And so I didn't understand what was going on. And I went back to drinking. And so I'd play this dance of 3 months out and then go back. And it was so bad when I would come back. The hangovers were worse. The drinking was worse. I'd be in bed all weekend. But I still wasn't ready. And so I kind of did this dance of going in and out and in and out. And that's when I had the ultimatum of telling your family, I'm like, well, I can't go to rehab because then people will know.
Yeah.
And so maybe I can do it secretively and maybe I can go to outpatient. And so I called an outpatient rehab, again, not knowing it was really going to stick. And what really worked for me was the accountability, the knowledge and information, and being a little bit more open-minded and being in a room of people that understood. And then we would have women-specific and male-specific meetings. And I could feel the shame that the other woman felt. I could understand that I wasn't alone. And when I walked into treatment, I thought I was the only person in treatment that snuck drinks.
That's silly.
Right? I was like so embarrassed to say. And they're like, what? I was like, I used to sneak drinks when no one was looking. And they were like, me too. Me too.
I busted into a Target and stole this so you could drink the alcohol out of the substance that it was in. Yeah. You're like, yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by Recovery.com. Recovery.com is a place where anyone can find mental health or addiction treatment options specific to them. You can filter by location, price, insurance coverage, therapy type, mental health condition, levels of care, and so much more. Recovery.com is the best place to find mental health or addiction treatment for anyone, anywhere.
I'm like, oh. And so just sharing that openly and having someone else look at me and say, I did that too, was such a relief to look at a woman and be like, oh.
It's a big weight lifted off of you.
Yes.
Feeling not so alone in these moments where you felt so horrible. Like, we did that. We did that. Other people have done it and they're okay and you're going to be okay. Yeah. Do you need help? We're here to help. Yeah.
Yes. And I remember this one woman, and for the first time, I still remember her name. Her name is Belinda. And she ended up leaving treatment because she drank. So they would breathalyze us for drugs. And then we would take Anabuse, which is a medication that if you put alcohol in your body, it can't absorb it and you just get really sick, is the way I understand it. For those of us that were in there for alcohol, and she was in there for drugs, and she would breathalyze, and she breathalyzed and blew. I remember her saying when she's like, there's such a light in you and I wish you could see it. And I was like, what do you want from me? I don't have anything to offer. What do you want from me? And so I thought that meant if someone said something nice to me, that it was because they wanted something from me. And so I still walked into like this recovery and sobriety with these gloves up looking for a fight. And that took a really long time for that wall to come down and understand, maybe I'm not so bad. Maybe I'm okay. But it took that to go back, the reflection of somebody else, of talking to another woman in recovery.
Yeah.
To start to understand that.
Yeah. Prior to going into outpatient, had you gone to any type of therapy beforehand?
So the woman that took me to my first meeting, I'd talked to her a little bit. And I was still in there, I was still wearing a mask in therapy, right? And what I mean, I was not transparent. I was not honest with her. I told her what I thought she wanted to hear.
You're still protecting yourself.
Oh my gosh. When I wanted to play the victim, I still played the victim. I still was like, that's not this person, or I feel like I still, I wasn't ready to be fully committed to my healing process.
Do you know the moment that kind of changed for you, or you kind of just like submitted and you're like, I'm ready to it's here. Like, I'm past that point.
It was in treatment. So every day we go in and we talk about what was happening for us. And the first 2 weeks, I was great. I wasn't drinking. I was living by myself. I was sleeping. I was like showing up fully present at work. I felt so good. And I walked in and I sat down and I was feeling great. And then I wasn't. And it was like a light switch. And I had panicked and I had anxiety and I had sadness and I had anger, and all these emotions were super present, and I didn't understand what was going on. And they came to me, and I was clasping my hands, and I was sitting there, and I'm like, I'm crying, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now. I have no idea what's going on. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm irritated. I'm pissed off. Like, I don't like this. Nothing. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, the ugly cry. I have my nose is running. I'm just sobbing and sobbing. And they're like, I'm so proud of you. Welcome to recovery.
You're feeling it.
And I was like, this is recovery?
I'm out.
I don't, And, they clapped, and I was like, what? And she's like, you're only as sick as your secrets. And that was the first time that I had started to crack the door and say, okay, Maybe.
Mm-hmm. It's hard because I think that's why people kind of pull at substances or alcohol or people or shopping or gambling, because it's hard to sit there with those feelings and emotions that are just so heavy. And if I can just like do this so I don't have to feel that, but it just snowballs in your body and in your mind until those things are, you're not doing those things to cover this. And so this is this big mountain. How did you work through that now that you are feeling all those feelings?
That's what they say, like feelings aren't facts, right? But feelings are information.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can take that information and see what it's trying to tell us, sitting with it, was not something that I enjoyed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's still really hard. 18 years later, I still find sitting with uncomfortable feelings really challenging. Early in recovery, I remember I got angry and I kicked over this glass thing that was on the table. And then I felt shame about it, right? And so anytime I expressed a feeling, I'd immediately feel shame. And so it took a lot of working with other women, a therapist, 12 steps, a lot of recovery literature, a lot of healing space, to be okay with feeling feelings. And today, that looks like a lot of somatic work. And that looks like a lot of, that I feel sad because, and then taking because that's what I can control. I can't control the sadness. I can sit with it and I can say, what is this trying to tell me? What do I need to know right now? Okay. I feel, I didn't stand up for myself. So my boundaries were pushed up against. Okay. So how do I, and that's work. And and as humans and as a woman in long-term recovery and as a woman that drank for a long time, to get rid of those feelings, that's extremely hard. And it sounds simple, but it's not easy. Because feelings are powerful and they hurt.
I'm an introspective person. I feel like my feelings, I will think that you hate me and you could have not said a single word to me. And that's stuff I need to work on because I don't know. It's back to the negativity thing.
Stories. I do a lot of work now with stories, and it's like, what part of that is true and what part of that is a protector story that's trying to keep me isolated? Because that's something too. It's again, a woman in long-term recovery. Like, I truly believe that my sickness, my illness, my disease is still trying to kill me. And I have to be so proactive about the stories I tell myself. And whether that's about a person or whether that's about a situation or whether that's assigning intention to someone, because that can be a really good one. Like, I'm going to assign intention to you. That's going to reflect poorly on me. So therefore, look, I'm alone and I'm going to go out and drink because there's no other solution or way to deal with it. And so for me, this is it is a daily reprieve still at 18 years of looking at those things.
I never thought about it that way, that those thoughts that I'm having in regards to other people and their perception of me is my mental illness keeping me isolated 100%. And potentially trying to make me feel more isolated so it can do its nasty little thing in my head.
Because the worse we feel about ourselves, right? The worse I feel about myself. Exactly. And I remember this image, someone said, it's my disease. Like right now it's locked away and it's in jail, but it's doing push-ups and it's still getting stronger. So the second it can get that key and get up, right? She's jacked.
She's so freaking strong. Like, oh girl.
She's going to try to ruin your life. And so, and I think that's true. For me, that's true. And that's something that I don't take lightly.
So what does recovery look like for you? It's been 15 years? 18 years sober? That's incredible. That is incredible. There has to be different stages within that. Like okay, we don't have to go through 18 years straight, but like in the beginning, like your rituals, did you build rituals? Do you have different things or tools that you still use?
So I can sum it up in one sentence. I know nothing. Right. I am still a child. And I think of when I was 18 years old and I was going to college, I'm like, I know everything. Mom, Dad, you know nothing. I know everything.
I'm enlightened.
And as an adult now, I'm like, I'm always learning. And it's the same thing with recovery. The first 5 years, I was like, I got this. And at 10 years, I'm like,
first 5 years, you're feeling that.
And then at 15, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know anything. Right. And so, they say it takes 5 years to find your marbles, 10 years to gather them, and 15 years to know what to do with them. Recovery. And I found that for me, that's been true. At 15 years, that's when I started speaking openly about my recovery. At 5 years, I was diagnosed with severe depression. At 10 years, I had my child, so 5 years, tough, 10 years, amazing. 15 years, finalized a divorce, moved, became a single parent, and lost my dad the same year. So 4 of the top 5 things in a person's life 4 of the top 5 challenges happened to me in 1 year at 15 years. And I thank God every day I was at 15 years and not at 1, because at 15 years was the first time I thought seriously about drinking. When nobody plans to become, have the struggle of sharing custody, becoming a single mom more than 50% of the time. Nobody plans on feeling like your life is starting over. And then my dad doesn't wake up one morning. And my dad was my cheerleader. And I sat on the hill. My son and I had moved into an apartment. And so here I am, 43 years old. Like, I'm sober. Life should be perfect. My friends have these beautiful homes. They have these family vacations. And I'm putting a bike together on Christmas by myself because there's nobody there to help me. My dad just died. And I sat on the hill of my apartment. And I was like, F this. I can't handle anymore. I feel so broken right now. And I haven't had this feeling since I was 2 days sober. I'm going to drink. I am done. I can't hold anymore. And I thank God that I had the tools. And I sat there and I was like, it's not going to bring my dad back. It's not going to fill me. It's not going to rid me of the shame of a failed marriage. It's not going to bring me joy. I can't drink. So I bought a pack of cigarettes.
I mean, that's harm reduction, girl. That's harm reduction. You do what you got to do.
So I bought a pack of cigarettes and I smoked, and I sat on that hill and I smoked cigarettes, but I didn't drink. And I didn't drink because I had all of those tools in place. And I knew, and I also went down that path of I could lose my son. I could lose my life. But it took 15 years of day in and day out, choosing not to drink, putting one foot in front of the other, picking up the phone when I didn't want to, going to yoga when I didn't want to, meditating when I didn't want to, going to 12-step meetings when I didn't want to, consistently putting my sobriety above and beyond everything else in my life, above and beyond what I wanted to do, above and beyond my child on some days, above and beyond my own happiness, because that was the only thing that carried me through with that moment.
You literally trained yourself for like the hardest time in your life. Through sobriety and recovery.
The days I'm feeling good, they're easy.
Yeah.
But the days when I'm that broken,
it's
hard. And my mom, because I think this is a hilarious story, so we'll lighten it up.
Okay, thank you.
So my mom saw me. My parents have been divorced 3 years. So my mom's at the funeral and I'm smoking. And she's like, do you have to do that?
Yes, girl.
And she goes, God bless her. She's like, can you just drink a cappuccino? Can just go and like treat yourself. And it's the first time I got really real with my mom. And I was like, cappuccinos are how I wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I'm going to it's these cigarettes, or I'm going to go to a dive bar. I'm going to meet a cocaine dealer, and I'm probably not going to come to Dad's funeral. And you might not see me for a couple of weeks. Or I'm going to smoke these cigarettes.
Pick your sweet treat, Mom. Like, God.
Smoke away, honey. She's like, puff, puff.
Good.
And she kind of laughed. She was like, oh. And then my dad's wife at the time, she goes, did they serve Coca-Cola in bars? And I was like, oh, no. Not that kind of Coca-Cola. Not that kind of Coke. I mean, and it was so sweet. And I was just like, oh, okay.
Needed that.
Yeah. And so harm reduction. I picked my poison and I quit, and it was what it was. But I felt shameful about that too. And even when I went to the sound healing and I just smoked a cigarette and I was like, I feel so guilty. I'm smoking. And the sound healer says, if you're going to do it mm-hmm. and enjoy it. Don't do it and then shame yourself, which is a double negative.
Yeah.
And I was like, And that's when I learned about the power of choice.
Yes.
Because if I'm going to make a choice, if I'm going to choose to smoke the cigarette and it's a better choice than going out and drinking, I'm going to live in that moment. Mm-hmm. I'm going to enjoy that cigarette. And when I'm done, I quit. And when I was ready, I was like, I actually don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm good. That was that. Yeah. And so it's looked a lot different, and now at 18 years, I do. I mean, I put recovery above everything, because anything you put above recovery, you're going to lose. And I've started talking to my child about it. He's 8 and he doesn't quite understand it.
Yeah. How do you have like the age appropriate conversation with the 8-year-old? Because there's just different ways you can bring it up. They can understand at their level.
The hardest thing is that I allow him we talk about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so he can tell me, I don't like it when you use that tone with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, what don't you like about it? And so the hardest thing I've done is allow him to have open conversations around anything now.
Yeah.
Because in hopes that if it ever comes up later and he's ever in a situation or there's ever a moment when he's like, oh, I don't know who I can talk to, like he'll be able, to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And even now he comes and he's like, so why did you get divorced if it was so hard for you? And I was like, you're 7. How can you ask me that question?
Mm-hmm.
And it's painful and like a stab to the gut. But I'm also like, okay, let's go there. Let's have this hard conversation.
Yeah, I love that you have the words for the thoughts and the feelings inside your body that you can let out, because honestly, education helps people conquer everything. And through having the language, the voice, the vocabulary to express your feelings, you're only doing better for yourself. Helping him navigate through talking through your feelings and the why just develops a child that in any situation, whether it be with friends, with you, with personal thoughts, he'll be better equipped to navigate through. You're putting an amazing little boy out in this world.
Yeah. I mean, he said to me the other day, I don't want to talk about my feelings. Because I'm like, well, how does that make you feel? Like, great, tell me the process.
Yeah.
Like how, he's like, don't want to talk. So he's like, how do you feel about having pizza? I don't want to talk. Oh, pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. Like he's like onto the feelings thing. And so it's kind of a joke, but we've started talking about, I said, like how sometimes you just like you have ice cream and you want more ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said with me, and I said, once I have any kind of alcohol, I want more and I can't stop. And I don't know that he understands it, but I'm talking to him about it in a way now that doesn't feel shameful.
Right.
It's an open conversation.
And he can conceptualize that to a point. It's like, yeah, I get it. If I sat there and ate 4 bags of chips, I'd feel like crap for days, wouldn't I?
And he said, am I an alcoholic? And I said, I don't know. I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, we do have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, I have so many ways. We have all the tools that we need to get you help.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll deal with that.
Yeah.
If we ever come to that, but I don't have an answer for that.
I love that. I love that open dialogue. I didn't know anything about my family's history with alcohol. And I don't know if it hindered me, but it didn't help.
And my family, and it's funny because we talk about generationally. And I hear, the greatest generation raises children that have no feelings and they shut them down, and then our parents raised these like, we're lucky kids and now we're angry because we want to express our feelings. But my parents didn't talk about things like that wasn't part of their generation. And so I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And they kind of, no, don't talk about that outside the family. Like we keep that inside. Don't share, don't keep our secrets tight, And so
present well.
Yes.
Just present well.
And that was the hard part about getting sober. Because I thought if I looked good on the outside, I had clean clothes, my hair was washed. I was like, I had gone to the dentist twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm good then, right? Because I looked fine and you thought I was fine. So it didn't matter if I was burning alive. And so trying to create that for my child, a safe space, saying like, you can tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, I'm not going to try to change it. And we might not, I'm sorry that you think it's unfair that you can't get Pokemon cards today.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I'm not going to give into it.
I know. I love helping them with their vocabulary and then it comes back and bites you in the butt. Like my son he's 3. So he loves to like get in our cars. And I'm like, okay, we need to get out. It's like 90 degrees. We can't just be playing in my car right now. Yeah. And he'll be like, I need space. My body needs space. I'm like, you can't ask for space when I'm telling you to do something. Like, yes, but no, I need space. I'm telling you to do something. You don't get space right now. But yeah, bless them. They are so wise. We're putting good boys out into the world.
I love that. Little star seeds. Yeah.
So someone on our staff, Tom Farley, his brother, famous comedian Chris Farley, he is very open about his struggle with substance use, mental health. And I know that it's such an interesting situation when you have a famous family. Like he has been very open about dealing with his own issues while his brother also was not only famous, but dealt with his issues. How did you navigate recovery and mental health while having a famous family?
When, Michael won equal medals in the Beijing Olympics, I just celebrated 1 year of sobriety. So I was 1 year sober and I was in a foreign country with a flip phone and half of the...
was it a pink razor?
I was not a pink razor. I always wanted it. I wasn't cool enough to, right? Like I wasn't enough to have a pink razor. Oh, wait, let's cut that out. That sounds so cheesy.
Oh, it's kind of funny.
So I had this flip phone and I remember texting my sponsor and it wasn't even the predictive text.
No, yeah.
So you had to work for it. A, 1, 2, 3 for the C. And it was $1 a text or whatever it was. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I had a year sober and I also didn't talk about it in the rooms. And so I was messaging my sponsor and we went to a big party after. Someone offered me champagne and wine, like were my, because they were fancy and it didn't mean I was an alcoholic if I was drinking those. And I'm like, nope, I can't, like, nope. And that felt really hard.
Yeah.
And then I got back and people were like, oh, we saw you. We had no idea. And I was and I felt very exposed because for the first time in that 1 year, I felt like people knew me for me and not because I was somebody else's relative. And so I felt very guarded for a while, kind of after that.
Yeah.
But then after that, I also didn't know who I was. I was still trying to figure out who I was. And that kind of tapped more into that, like, wow, you're really not good enough. Like that mentality. And so I ended up going and living in an ashram. I was incredibly fortunate. In 2009. And that was kind of the start of like the who am I? Who is Hilary? Tour. And so I lived in an ashram for 6 weeks and I studied yoga. And then I studied Pilates after that and then mindfulness. And it kind of began almost this permission slip it was a permission slip for me to start exploring who I was.
What do you like?
What do I like?
Yes.
Who am I? Because someone came up to me and they're like, well, he's done this. Like, what have you done with your life?
You're like, shut up. I literally did it before him. like go away.
And then I did an Ironman, right? Because I felt like I had to prove myself. And so
it did happen at an interesting time, didn't it? You're 1 year sober and all of a sudden it's like, boom. And you're like, I mean, I'm sober, but like, this is kind of for me right now. And I don't know how to let that out or share that.
So for the first 15 years of my sobriety, I still felt like I almost didn't have an identity because, my brother and my sister were these incredible swimmers. But at 15 years, when I started sharing openly, and my brother sharing about his mental health struggles openly was a huge help in me also sharing, because I was worried if I shared openly about my addiction and my recovery, then people wouldn't like me, right? And so I still felt a shame. I mean, stigma is funny because there's a stigma around drinking and there's a stigma around sobriety, and that's hard. And
you can't win.
Yeah. I mean, and then add the fact that I was a woman. It's a whole nother podcast. I mean, with the women, like the shame in women. And after 15 years, when I started sharing openly about my recovery, literally in the hopes of helping one woman, because I felt like if I felt shame at 15 years around my recovery and my addiction, what was I telling a woman that was 1 year, 1 week, 1 day sober? I was silently telling her that that it was embarrassing to her, that it was shameful. And so then I realized I didn't have the luxury to stay silent anymore when there were so many women, especially after COVID, struggling and drinking. And when I started sharing my story, it also felt like a huge relief, kind of that moment when I was in treatment and they said, I admitted that I'd, sneaking drinks.
Yeah.
When I said to the world, like, I'm a sober woman, I'm in recovery, I have 15 years, like, and I think I'm okay now sharing that openly, but it was on my time. That helped a lot because now there's no secret. There is no shame.
Yeah.
I'm not hiding anything. I'm not straddling the line.
You're not running from anything. You're not like shielding part of yourself in fear of what somebody might think.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
And I jokingly, but also very seriously, am very grateful, that I was sober during this really exciting time for my brother, because I would have been a disaster. I mean, my ego was already, couldn't fit through the door when I was drinking. I mean, if he's on this public stage and then this, I could have taken a lot. I could have taken a lot away from his wonderful experience by, actively drinking through it, or just being a jerk, or feeling like I was entitled, which is how I felt when I was drinking. And so I was grateful that I had that recovery under my belt when he experienced all of this, the success.
So for you today, what are some non-negotiables for you in your recovery journey? What does your life look like now, and some of the boundaries that you set up to keep your sobriety successful?
Most of my friends don't drink, and not and that doesn't mean that they're in recovery. It just means that it's not an important part of their life. And so that's a great, so my son's friends, parents. So we have this group of friends and we all hang out and have dinner and our kids play together. And it's really beautiful. And they don't drink. And if they do, they're like, maybe they have one drink at dinner and they don't finish it. Yeah. The kind that I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm confused by this, but that's just, and so I don't spend a lot of time around alcohol. We don't have alcohol in our home. My partner's also in recovery and, we have people over for dinner and we have friends and I forget sometimes. They're like, what can we bring? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, but we don't drink here. Yeah. So please don't bring wine. And we don't have wine here. So we have sparkling water and we have like Little Saints mocktails. Like we have different things like that. And that at first, that was another thing that felt like a hard conversation. It's like, we don't welcome that in our home. Yeah. And now it's okay.
Because you think someone's gonna be like, oh, I'm not coming in your house. Again, that's just our poor perception of what people are going to think.
And now I'm okay with it. I'm like, okay, don't come. Like, we're good. Yeah. We're okay with it.
More food for me.
Exactly. Yeah. More s'mores for us. Yes. My boundaries, my non-negotiables. Meditation's really huge. I'll put that above physical movement any day.
Yeah. Is that something you do every day? Yeah.
I try. Yeah. I'm like, I do. It is a non-negotiable. I try to do 2 20-minute blocks a day. If I'm being fully honest, it doesn't always happen.
Yep. Life happens. So we do what we can.
Sometimes I get 10 minutes and I do a form. It's called Vedic. I've tried different types of meditation over the years and that's what works really well for me. It's like trial and error. I'm also a knowledge seeker and lover of information. And so I've studied a lot of different modalities and the ones that work really well. The meditation, nervous system regulation, I've worked a lot with that. And that's where that feelings comes in. That feelings are information and that's okay. I also have a really, really, really wonderful partner who loves me for me. And what I mean by that is I can go to him and say, this is a story I'm telling myself right now about this. And he's like, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Validates you in those moments and I'll
not shut me down. Yep. And say like, that's stupid or that's silly or and so we've done a lot of work independently and we do a lot of work collectively as a couple to keep honest and transparency in our relationship. And
that's wonderful.
It's hard not to be like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Because that's judgment and that would shut someone down. And so when he says something and like, where did that even come from? And I'm like, okay, let's talk about it.
And it's great to have a partner that like knows that. Cause sometimes when someone tells us something, we can be like, oh, that's crazy. But when you know your partner and you know that they're telling you this thing because it's not on a whim that they're really feeling this inside and they can sit there and notice that and help you walk through that. That's really beautiful.
It's the most impactful and beautiful relationship that I've experienced with another human in my life. And I feel so grateful. And that's because of recovery and the work I've done, because that would go away, if I wasn't so practiced in the modalities. I've gotten certified in yoga. That's also really helpful. But something I love, I actually did this before I came today because I was like excited and I noticed like I had to sit with it. I'm like, what is this feeling? I was like, oh, this is excitement. Okay. What is this excitement telling me? It's excitement's telling, and then I chose to like move it out of my body. And so I did jumping jacks and I did like humming and like some like, some funny noises, but it's continual learning and things that work are great and things that don't work. I
learned that. Bye.
Okay. That was good. That was fun. It's not so, but I take a holistic approach to recovery, which is emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical. I believe there's something higher than myself. And that's one of the greatest things. I believe that the universe has a plan and the unknown that often feels really scary is also, it's like what we talked about earlier, changing the mindset. Yes. It's scary and it can be exciting. Yes. I've changed words in my vocabulary, try to eliminate should, try to eliminate but, put it and in, like, oh, this is exciting, but this is exciting and so it's small things that make big changes. And it's really evolved, I think, over time.
That's awesome. You also, so through the right room, you are helping support women navigate their own experiences. How have you used your experience to hold space for women that are also navigating their own journeys?
In my experience, especially in today's world when it's fast paced and we're connected to our phones and everything else, having someone sit across from you that is fully present. We talked about somebody presence over perfection, just having someone be present that says, I got you, I understand you, and how can I support and help you makes a world of difference. And in 2022, I'd worked with a coach that helped me navigate out of my marriage. And she was really instrumental. Even at 15 years, I didn't realize all of the perfectionism, the lack of boundaries, inability to say no, the people pleasing were still so present.
Yeah.
And she was really helpful in shining a light on some of those things that I was doing. And I wanted to be able to do the same for women. So taking my personal experiences of, a divorce, losing a parent, becoming a single mom, getting sober. My mom now lives with us, right? And so the sandwich generation of raising a child while helping support my parent, my mom. I mean, I have a lot of life experiences, and how can I help other women navigate those? And I love this idea of this continuum of education, right? Like there are women who are going through these experiences that I have, that I can reach down or back, or this. I mean, not in a hierarchical way, but I can reach and say, like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Like, let me guide you. And there are women further along on this journey than I am that are reaching their hands back to me and saying, let me show you and help you. And so I truly believe in this: women helping women, women supporting women, women lifting each other up, not trying to, there's enough for everybody. And so how can we support all women to say, like, I got you? Because I think when one woman gets sober, when one woman finds her voice, when one woman heals, this ripple effect that goes out into the world and the community is so powerful. And it changes lives. It changes our children's lives. It changes our partners' lives. It changes our people we work with, the people around us in every way. And so I want to be able to give that to as many women as possible and support them in whatever they're going through. And it's, at 45, I feel like I found my purpose. And that was my purpose in helping lift other people up, women up.
I love that. Honestly, I've got goosebumps right now. Just like literally, can you guys zoom in? No, you can't. But if you could, you'd see these goosebumps just from hearing you say that. And that's like exactly what you're doing. I'm going to run out of this room and go do some like amazing stuff right now. I feel very enthused.
You are doing amazing
Thank
stuff.
you so much. But no, honestly, your story is really incredible. I feel like a lot of women and people in general can just relate to that. Always feeling like you have to hit this type of perfection and feeling inadequate at points in life when you haven't, and just being able to work to the point where you love yourself. You love yourself, and knowing that loving yourself is what is going to help the people around you, the success in your life, sharing that with other women and helping them overcome those things. When someone hears your story, what is something that you hope they get out of it?
I hope women, or whoever hears it, realizes that they're enough. They don't have to dim their light to be someone less, and they don't have to try to be somebody more, that they're enough exactly as they are in this moment. They're perfect. I don't like that. It's not perfect as like perfectionism.
We're perfect. We're perfect.
Like we're perfect in every moment, and that's okay. And we can want more, and we can try to, I say, quote, be better. We can try to improve our, scenario or situation or whatever that is, but we're okay exactly as we are. And that's enough. You're enough.
Yes. We're enough.
We're enough.
Awesome. So tell our listeners where they can find you. What are your socials and your podcast?
Yes, thank you. HilaryPhelps.com is the best place with all the information. It's with one L. Hilary Phelps _ on Instagram. We have the podcast, it's The Right Room with Hilary Phelps, where we share stories of women in transition. So some are sober, some are navigating other transitions, like tough times and challenges in their life, with the idea of tuning in to hear something, maybe putting words to a challenge that you're having that you haven't
not
been
feel
able
alone.
to not feel alone. So
that's awesome.
We have a membership coming out later, which is really exciting, and a partnership with a TV thing that's coming out too.
So many fun things. Yeah. Yay. Awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate your time here, and I really appreciate you opening up and sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us.